The most embarrassing moments of my teenage years involved Jinko shorts and an extra large Kobe Bryant jersey. But there's a whole other level of guitar embarrassment that up until this point I've been ashamed to admit. So I'm just going to go over my 5 most embarrassing guitar fails slash just stuff I didn't even know about until it was too late. So I started teaching myself guitar when I was like 17 years old. I had no friends that played guitar. I have no family members that ever played a guitar. So I was 100% on my own. So I had a lot of blind spots, which I eventually found out over time. Number 1, the misconception that I was actually good at guitar. That is by far probably the most embarrassing realization that I ever had. And I can tell you exactly when it happened because, first year I was like playing tabs and stuff. I could play some Hendrix songs. I could play Zeppelin. I specifically remember one night I was playing Stairway to Heaven, as one does when they've been playing for about a year, and I was rocking it. And my brother was like, "Bro, that sounds pretty good." And he's like, "Actually, I think that sounds better than the original." And I stopped and I was like, "Bro, you know what? I think you're right." I thought I was so good. I thought I was an amazing guitar player for only a year. Then I got my first real amp, right? It was like a Fender Twin, and there was some issues with it. I got it at Guitar Center, so I took it back to Guitar Center, and I was like, "Guys, I think something's wrong with this amp, right?" So the guitar tech was super chill guy, super cool. And he was like, "All right, cool. Let me test it out." Plugged it in. Remember, I'd never been around like any kind of actual musician at this point in my life, so he just takes out whatever guitar's laying around and starts testing the guitar, and he's shredding through this amp, and I'm like, "Oh my god, like who is this master that is just toiling at Guitar Center?" And he was awesome, he was amazing. And again, I hadn't even really seen a lot of live music at this point. I was so sheltered musically. And he's like, "Yeah, it seems all right. Let me see what my buddy thinks over here." So he grabs the guy from Pro Audio, and the Pro Audio guy plugs it in, and he starts shredding all over the amp. And I'm just like, wait, what? It's like, I don't know. I think maybe I hear something. Let's get a third opinion. Then they bring the guy from the drum section in, and he starts shredding. And then at that point, I was like, maybe I'm not that good at guitar. And a lot of people can actually do this, which was a sobering moment. So I was absolutely served that day. I will never forget it, and I have never ever once had an ego about my guitar playing ever since that day. Right? So that was an embarrassing moment. Especially, I just cringe looking back on it and thinking that I was like really good at guitar. So whatever. Second most embarrassing moment I had was actually when I got this guitar. Funny enough, later I ended up working at Guitar Center, and I ended up getting this awesome 62 Fender Strat. I've been saving up forever to get this, and we had this cool deal where we could order stuff right from Fender for like a better discount than we could get at the store. So I'll never forget, I was so stoked. It was like my first like real like American made guitar, right? So it comes in this case right here, this amazing tweed case. And I remember getting it out. I'm stoked. I'm just by myself getting ready to open it. And then I go to like the little latches here, and I can't open them. And then like there's locks here. I got this middle one. I could just open this, right? But these other ones I couldn't get open. And I was like, did they lock this tweed case on me or whatever? And I am so embarrassed to admit how long it took me to figure this out. I was on the phone with my buddy Cody. He's like, "Wait, what kind of case is that?" And I explained it to him. He's like, "Oh, bro, just push the lock to the side." And then, yeah, as soon as you take the lock and push it to the side, it just pops open. So, there it is. Another embarrassing moment. Had no idea how to open these cases. I kind of will forgive myself. If you've never seen a lock that just opens to the side like that, I don't know. Cut me some slack. Whatever. Embarrassing moment number 3. Locking tuners. I thought a locking tuner was a tuner that locked the string in tune, kind of like a Floyd Rose was. I think I probably actually repeated this to people, saying that like a Floyd Rose system was a locking tuner. I've probably passed along this misinformation many times. Yeah, so what a locking tuner actually is when you're restraining the guitar, basically it locks the string into the post. It really has nothing to do with the tuning. You can make an argument that if you have like a trem system, it stops the string from slipping as much, so therefore it doesn't go out of tune as easily with the trem thing. I don't know. Personally, I think of locking tuners as just something that kind of speeds up restringing a guitar. But for the longest time, I thought that was just like another name for like a Floyd Rose, where you would literally lock the string into place. Again, I had no idea what I was doing, so you can forgive me for that. Fourth most embarrassing thing, another thing working at Guitar Center, right? So I ended up working in pro audio way more than I worked at guitars. And I remember my first day at pro audio, I was just totally a bedroom player to this point, right? I had a combo amp. That was the only amp I'd ever really had. Most of the stuff actually was into my Digitech GNX3 multi-effects pedal. That was where I played most of it, and I played the heck out of that thing. It was awesome, but it was usually in headphones, right? So I had no experience playing live. For whatever reason, they put me in pro audio, right? Everything, speakers, amps, matching powers, power heads with cabs and stuff like that. I was totally not aware that you could not play a guitar head by itself and you needed a cab, or specifically any kind of like powering of speakers, because this was actually at the time where like active speakers would come in, where you have like a speaker that you can just plug in and you can just plug a microphone into that speaker. It was like right at kind of like the nexus where active PAs were starting to take over maybe the older school things where you had to have like a power amp to power passive speakers. I had no idea that passive speakers were I thought you could just take a mixing board and go out of a mixer and plug it into like a passive speaker and that it would just actually amplify sound. Had no idea you needed a power amp. Same with like if you took like a Marshall head or something. I remember being over at like a guy's house and he had like a Marshall head, but it wasn't sitting on a cab. So I thought maybe you could just like I didn't do this, but I was like, oh, maybe just plug it in and it would like make noise just coming out of the head. Had no idea that like the head actually powers a speaker cab, and that kind of thing happens. So thankfully, I never had like any kind of expensive mishaps with anything like that. But anyways, I digress. Number 5, changing your guitar strings is not optional, and it is also not dangerous. I remember the first few times I changed my guitar strings. Again, you break your high E string first, like most people do, and then I would just go, buy single strings, or think that I could just go buy single strings. And I was living in a smaller town at that time, and nobody sold single strings. And I was like, why don't you sell single strings? Like, that's like ridiculous. Little did I know that usually when you change your strings, you change the whole set. Again, not that, you can't buy single strings, but I just remember that like the town I was living at, they just didn't even have single strings. So that was mind-blowing in and of itself. They're like, what do you mean you just can't do that? But aside from that, every time I would go to restring my guitar, as I was getting closer and closer to it being in tune, I would just like cringe, because I knew for a fact that string was going to break, it was going to hit me in the eyeball, and it was going to blind me. Every single time that I changed my strings, I was always terrified of that happening. Not that that's actually like, an unfounded fear, I suppose, but from what I hear, that's very rare. Still to this day, it's good to actually have an extra set of, single strings 10s, just a bunch of high E strings around, because those really are the only strings that I've ever broken, but I don't really play with like a heavy hand anyways. So those are my most embarrassing things. Feels good to get those off my chest. Again, I was kind of too cool for school to ever admit that stuff at one time, but it feels good. So please share your most embarrassing guitar misconceptions or moments in the comments below. Also, got a bunch of stuff going on right now. I made an entire beginner to intermediate class. If you guys are interested, there's 2 ways to get this, so you don't have to be embarrassed about maybe not knowing music theory or filling in the holes in your playing. Super comprehensive class. I've got it actually on Udemy right now, but it's actually a better deal to do it through Patreon, because for $12 a month, you get the class, plus like I'm teaching everything on my set list. So there's like a lot of stuff. If you can get it all in 1 month, just pay $12, cancel it, you're done. Otherwise, it's a little more expensive, but some people like Udemy too, and you can actually gift stuff on Udemy. So I will link you both ways. If you're interested at all, thanks a lot. And if you have any questions, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website. I'll talk to y'all soon. Thanks.